The Celtics Talk podcast is presented by 24autogroup.com, 11 locations across New England.
What's up, everybody? Post-game pod coming to you after the Celtics rally from 26 down 90 to 64. They come back, outscore the Philadelphia 76ers 54-20 at the end of the game, including a 39-10 rally to pull ahead. Celtics win 118-110. There hasn't been a whole lot of double-digit rallies for the Celtics this year. I was kind of trying to go through it during our post-game show. A couple in November. They'd rallied back against the Bucks. There was another game in there, Brooklyn maybe, where they came back from a double-digit lead. And if I remember right, it might have been early deficit. So, but this one is just, is an ugly shooting first half. The Philly, despite being shorthanded, had all the momentum. It culminates with Drew Holiday hitting a three-pointer in the corner after, like a split second after the final buzzer. And you're thinking it might not be the Celtics' night. So much so that in the third quarter of this game, there's one sequence where Derek White drives to the basket, the ball rolls off the rim, the play goes the other way, and the Sixers hit a three. And Derek even admitted after the game, like, he thought Joe Mazzulla was going to pull him after that. At that point, they were down 19, 83, or actually 21, 83-62. And they really hadn't made much ground through the first 7 minutes of the quarter, and could have easily waved the white flag. Instead, they find a way. And they did it mostly on the defensive end, locking in, taking Maxey out of it. Maxey had 30 points just halfway through the third quarter, finishes only with 34. Gershon Yabusele was a problem for most of this game. But ironically, with 91 seconds left in that third quarter, he drives to the hoop, has a big dunk. He's beating on his chest. And I actually remember thinking, I was like, don't know if that's the right play. They were up 94-72 at that point. So 18-point lead with essentially 13 and a half minutes to go. And the Celtics find a way. They make a late little flurry. Jaylen had a layup near the buzzer of that third quarter. Got it down to 14. And you could just feel the momentum. The energy, the momentum, whatever you want to call it, was shifting. And the Celtics took care of it. Sam Hauser knocking down threes to start the fourth quarter. Jason Tatum got going en route to 35 points, 11 assists, 7 rebounds. Just one of the more feel-good wins the team has had this year. And let's face it, for most of it, ironically, it's Groundhog Day. And the script for the Celtics has been, at least in this December roller coaster, win one or maybe 2 games, take a step back. Win a game, take a step back. And every time there feels like they're getting a little bit of momentum, the ride shifts back the other way. Tonight was a more pleasurable swing in how the Celtics have played, because it goes from, man, they just can't get anything going. And, look, first half, they took a ton of threes, but they were generally good looks. They just couldn't knock down shots, and the Sixers were far more aggressive attacking the basket. Zone flustered the Celtics a little bit. And I don't know, we know how it goes with the Celtics. Sometimes when they lose their focus or get flustered, they just don't play to their potential. It felt like if they were a little bit more aggressive going to the basket in the second half, if they could corral Maxey, they could at least make a charge. And they did way more than that at one point, building that lead up to 8 in the final minute. Felt like they might even cover the 12.5-point spread that was out there. Now 3 wins in a row, which is the first time in pretty much a month since the Celtics have done that. They seem to play their best basketball on the road. They're now NBA best on the road. I believe it's 19-5, 19-6. And this, you think about it, in this January-February stretch here where they've had the two four-game road trips, and now this one, they've been really sharp and played some of their best basketball. So, they need to keep it going. We're gonna cap this episode by talking about that game coming up against the Cavs, and a lot going on in the association. I should probably get to that in a second too, but it's just a feel-good win. They could have just turned it down and said, we don't have it tonight. Could have kind of given up some of the momentum they've built over this 2-game winning streak. Like I said, felt a little bit like Groundhog Day, where you're just like, why is it 2 steps forward, 1 step back with this team? Instead, a gritty win. The one sequence I do want to point out before we talk about all the other chaos in the association, Derek White, about 2.5 minutes to go in the game. The Celtics are clinging to a 1-point lead. Philly's coming down. And again, I don't mean to be pessimistic, but you're in that moment, you're thinking, man, you don't want to come back from a 26-point deficit only to cough it up at the finish line. And I believe it was Maxey, or one of the guards, attacked the basket, and Derek White takes the charge. One that's, I'd have to go check the numbers, but I don't feel like it's been a heavy charge take year for the Celtics. Derek's usually at the forefront of that. Drew's definitely taken some. But so you get change of possession there, go the other way. Jason Tatum does a little kind of give back to Derek White beyond the 3-point arc, knocks down the 3. All of a sudden you're up 4, and you're able to get to the finish line of this win. It felt like a huge 2-possession swing where, if Maxey gets to the rim and scores, all of a sudden you've got to swing back. And instead, it helped the Celtics build a little bit of a cushion. Drew Holiday hits the dagger. Everyone had a little bit of a hand in this one. No Peyton Pritchard, but Celtics still rack up 35 assists. They score 118 points for the second time on this road trip. And like I said, 35-15. The race for 40 wins before 20 losses. It's the old Phil Jackson's how you determine if you're a championship contender. You get to 40 wins before 20 losses, you have a chance to win the title. That's pretty much bared out over time. I think only a handful of champions in the last modern era, let's call it, have come without hitting that benchmark first. It's usually been something fluky about the season or the health of that team. So while that seemed like a slam dunk of a thing when the Celtics were 21-5, it's gotten a little bit more cloudy here, but now a chance over the next couple of games to try to get a little bit closer to the 40 wins before 20 losses. All right. The big story in the NBA today, and probably would have dominated this podcast if it wasn't for a remarkable Celtics comeback. I believe it was the third biggest comeback since 95-96 in the play-by-play era. Luka Doncic, guy you saw in the finals, traded to the Los Angeles Lakers, the rival Los Angeles Lakers. And a lot of consternation around the league because came out of nowhere in the early hours of Sunday morning or late Saturday night. And the Mavericks pretty much deciding that they're going in a different direction, trading an MVP caliber player, one of the, I think it's pretty safe to say, top 5 players in the NBA, and getting back Anthony Davis and 2029 first round pick. When you consider some of the hauls that have been had for, for the likes of Mikal Bridges, for Kevin Durant, a little bit jarring to see that Luka Doncic, of all people, gets moved for just one pick. Now, you can certainly make the case that Anthony Davis is very talented and has been in that MVP conversation in the past. He's also, I believe, close to 32 years old. When Luka is 25 and has been an All-NBA guy ever since he's been in the association. So, I think a lot of people, a lot of executives, a lot of fans, a lot of everyone who resides outside of LA, a little miffed at seemingly how easy the Lakers acquired this level of player. A lot of consternation about why the Mavericks might not have hunted a better package for this. And look, if you believe Nico Harrison that they wanted to change the identity of the team, and certainly Anthony Davis comes with a defensive reputation. He'll get the centers he's wished to play around, so he'll play more 4. Certainly, you can make the case that it is an ideal fit between him and with Kyrie running the offense. This is the bit of a dream team that Danny Ainge once envisioned in 2019, trying to cobble together. How ironic that 6 years later, Danny Ainge is in the middle of it as a facilitator with Utah, the third team in the trade between the Lakers and the Mavericks. We'll see how it goes. The West is obviously pretty loaded right now. I don't think the Mavs completely fade from it because, they haven't had Luka for a good stretch of this season. I understand the concerns about his conditioning and health long term. But I don't know if that was reason alone to take a player that had gotten you to the finals, that had been sort of the face of that franchise for the last few years, and just move off of him, especially when you would have had the option to offer the Supermax, which no one has turned down. And even if you fret that he would be daydreaming of other spots, it just doesn't happen. And now Luka's going to get less of a payday. But he's off to Los Angeles. We'll see what else the Lakers do in advance of the deadline. I think if you're a Celtic fan, your first inclination, of course, is to be like, don't want the Lakers to get good. This does set them up long term, whatever happens with LeBron, whether it's this year or beyond. They now have a superstar they can lean on. It's kind of crazy, that the Lakers keep just falling into these superstars whenever there's a void opening, or even when they just want to get more talent. It seems like they're able to get guys that a lot of other markets can't get. And look, I'm a little. You can go through Nico Harrison's track record here. From the time he's been hired going from a Nike executive to the GM of the Mavericks. He traded KP. He let Jalen Brunson walk. He traded for Kyrie, which, okay, got him to the finals last year. I guess I can't quibble too much. Traded for Grant Williams. That did not work out. A lot of questionable moves along the way. And yet, undeniably, the Mavericks have been good last 2 seasons here, and even while weathering Luka's absence this year. It's just jarring the speed at which they've transitioned and decided to make this move, and I suspect we'll hear more about why this happened. Maybe it'll make more sense further down the road. At least we're hoping, because right now it doesn't make a lot of sense. I'll go back to it. Big picture-wise, just from a Celtics perspective, like when I was digesting the news in the aftermath and trying to first off, again, you're just from a general, oh my God, 2 superstar players just get traded for each other. Doesn't happen very often. But when you digest it and you think to yourself, what does it mean for the Celtics? And you don't have to worry about the West until June. And you certainly always have an eye on what the Lakers are doing. And Tatum predicted a Dallas Celtics rematch, so it's just ironic that they're shifting directions mid-season, and we'll see how all that plays out. But the thing that I kind of keep coming back to is that Danny Ainge used to say the best trades you make are sometimes the ones you don't make. And he had multiple opportunities even before the Jays were selected, to trade those picks. The endless pursuits of Jimmy Butler and Kawhi Leonard and Chris Dunn draft, and all these things that, when people were eager for the Celtics to hit the accelerator. And, sometimes through no hesitation of his own, Justice Winslow draft and such, there were deals that didn't end up happening. And the Celtics ultimately, after that 2019 season, when Ainge couldn't pair Kyrie and Anthony Davis here in Boston, and Kyrie became a bit of a problem, the Celtics had to lean even harder into the development of their younger players, and nurture the development of the Jays. And, to watch it go from those guys being 7-11 at Summer League, Tatum changes his jersey number in the aftermath, ruins that little nickname. But they ascend to All-Stars, they ascend to All-NBA. They get to the 22 finals and get stiff-armed by Steph and the Warriors. They bounce back a year later. They go through it again, losing in Game 7 of the East Finals against Jimmy Butler and the Heat, to last season winning a title. And, it's hard to imagine a Celtics history now without having this the Jays era. And, look, this chapter isn't fully written. It's already delivered the one championship, which, was always the hunt, as Danny Ainge tinkered with this roster and daydreamed of that AD-Kyrie combo. And so, again, we'll see how that works out down there. Maybe it'll work as good as Danny Ainge envisioned, even 6 years after the fact and further removed from the prime for those 2 players. But things worked out really well here. And the Celtics are still set up, regardless of the difficulties that await this summer in keeping this roster together. The Celtics are still the favorite, along with Oklahoma City, to win a championship this season. There's an opportunity to build off what they've already done in raising banner 18 and potentially chasing banner 19. And it's funny to think about the sliding doors moments and what would have happened. What if they did trade for AD and move Tatum or move Tatum in that instance, and just how different would things have been? Would that group have been as successful as this one? Would the Celtics have been even more? It's impossible to know. But what I do know is that the Celtics are pretty fortunate right now to have 2 superstars that want to embrace the work, that are out there routinely, that don't give you questions about their long-term commitment, that don't give you pause about putting in the work to be the best on the court. And certainly two players that we hope will never see the purple and gold. But crazy day. And then not only that, as we're doing our post-game show, De'Aaron Fox gets traded down to San Antonio, as could easily be expected in the aftermath of his I want out. And Zach LaVine on the move, so the East is different. Bulls don't seemingly get a lot back. They do get their own pick, which might be all that matters as they maybe look to go into tank mode and figure out the future there. I suspect there'll be more moves from them with Vucevic and such. It's gonna be a fun week. So good game, a lot of drama. Gonna be a lot to talk about this week. Here's some more from our post-game show, and then after that we're gonna talk about the Cleveland game. But first, more from our post-game.
The award-winning 24 Auto Group is the easy choice for your next car, truck, or SUV. 11 locations and over 2,000 new and pre-owned vehicles in stock.
Shop the brands you know and love, backed by savings and service you can count on. Plus, buy 3 and get 1 free for all tire purchases, with 11 convenient locations across the South Shore of Massachusetts.
24 has the knack to save you more. Visit us in store or online at 24autogroup.com.
The first, about 33 minutes of this game were kind of tough to watch. The last 15, though, Eddie, made it worth it. I think those last 15 minutes were some of the most fun that we've seen so far this season.
It was fun because we won. But can I say this? Watching the Celtics this year is like, I don't know, are you guys thrill seekers? Do you guys like riding roller coasters? Because I do. Right?
Not
I'll get on a roller coaster,
but I like roller coasters in general.
But look, as you start going up, you be like, why did I do this? And then all of a sudden you get off, you're smiling, you're laughing, you're happy. And that's just what we just went on a roller coaster ride with the Celtics right here. And I think that they play fantastic defense at the end. And that's what got them on that 41-10 run is they started locking down defensively. The ball started hopping around, shots started going in, and it's not ironic it starts on the defensive end.
I think it started when Yabu had the dunk, and then he was beaten on his chest, and I said, I don't know, Dancing Bear shouldn't be taunting like that.
Dancing Bear poking the bear.
He poked the bear. That's man, I should have wrote that one down. And then it felt like from there, the Celtics really took off. They got stops, which is always the key for their offense. If they're getting stops, they get in transition, they get better looks, they play different. This is a little weird, right? Like normally the Celtics are kind of up and down, but okay for most of the game. In the fourth quarter hits and it gets janky out there. They hit us with the Uno reverse card today, and we're great down the stretch. This one feels a lot better. And hey, 3 straight wins.
3 straight wins as well for the first time in 4 weeks. Celtics with 3 straight wins, and they got Cleveland coming up. But let's get further into this. Eddie mentioned the 41-10 run, so let's pick it up right there. Celtics again. We're down by 26 points with under 3 minutes to go in the third quarter. And then, just like little by little, you started to see the momentum pick up, Eddie.
Yeah, well, look, the ball movement, and we're just looking at the shots that's going in, but it all started defensively. The ball started hopping around a little differently than it was before because I don't think that we were playing the same type of defense with the same intensity. I felt like when our back got against the wall, they felt like, hey, man, we can't lose this game. There ain't no way we're going to lose this game. And the only way you go on a 41-10 run is you have to play defense to hold a team to 10, okay? And I think that they just locked in defensively. This was a hell of a block shot by JT. And just look at the ball, guys running the floor. Everybody's energized.
We'll fixate on so much on what the starters did, but I feel like the one advantage you will always have as the Celtics is your depth. And even without Peyton Pritchard out there, it felt like when there was the deep reserves for the Sixers out there, the Celtics had to make some hay. And so Sam Hauser knocks down a couple threes. All of a sudden, you're starting to feel good. You start to see that lead come down. JT and JB are rolling back in there, and they start getting going. And it just felt like it snowballed from there. And the Sixers had no answer to sort of shut off that faucet. But again, it came down to make stops. Easy offense going the other way. All of a sudden, you're feeling a whole lot better about yourself than the fight in the first half where they were getting good looks. They just couldn't knock down a three. at any point. So it's just they kept give them credit. They hung in there. They could have easily just like mentally checked out. They didn't allow it.
So it was a 14-point game going into the fourth quarter. You mentioned Sam Hauser knocking down a couple of threes. You also had Luke Cornett with a couple of huge rebounds in the first minute of that fourth quarter.
Yes.
That kind of helped things as well. And even though they won this game by 8 points, it was still close. Like, it was still there. It was a 1-point game. Let's go through some of the big plays here down the stretch for the Celtics. Is they had a 108-104 lead after Derek White hit a three. So they were up by 4. A couple plays later, he had Kelly Oubre.
Oh, that's huge. That was a 1-point game right there where he takes the charge.
Yeah, Derek White taking the charge. Then you got Jason Tatum finding Derek White for a 3. That made it 113-109. Then Tatum coming up with the pull-up jumper of his own. He had 25 points in the second half. Celtics were up by 5 at that point. Of course, the final play that you heard coming off the top of the show, Jrue Holiday knocking down the 3, giving the Celtics the 8-point lead, the 8-point win. And, it feels like we kind of say it a lot, even though Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown had a lot to do with what we saw down the stretch there, Eddie. It was a little bit of everybody, including a couple of those guys coming off the bench.
Yeah, everybody. I've been saying everybody eats B on this team. That's when we at our best, where everybody gets some. We know our stars are going to do what they do, but everybody else gets a little bit of it. And think about that. That last clip when Jrue Holiday knocked down that shot, he goes like this when he knocks down the shot, right? Did you see everybody on the bench? Everybody on the bench. Not one person, but every one of his teammates was going like this. I like that connectivity. I like the way that you support your teammate. I like the way that you celebrate his success. And so to me, that's at times this season, I was like, are we connected the way we thought we were? But I think that not only are they flipping the switch, they have flipped the switch right now, because the way that they have been playing, for me at least, defensively, when they got to clamp down defensively, they do clamp down defensively. When they got to move the ball offensively, they move the ball offensively. They get others. And then when JT has to step up or JB have to step up, they do it the same way they did in New Orleans, same way they did tonight.
The big play to me was the Derek White charge take. They get it back within 1.
Yes.
Could have let it kind of slip away a little bit. He takes the charge. You come down the other side, inside out. JT feeds him for the 3. Derek, this is what he does. Fourth quarters.
Yep.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
Whole second half.
And I know, Eddie, you were asking about it before. Celtics had 9 assists in the fourth quarter alone. And they finished the game with 34, but 9 assists in the fourth quarter alone. 4 of them from Jason Tatum, 3 of them from Jaylen Brown, who's standing by with Abby back in Philly.
Jaylen, inside a huddle, late in the third, Joe Mazzulla told you guys this game was not over. What did you have to do to come all the way back from 26 points down?
It was just mindset. Mindset went for us. We started off slow. Give credit to them. They zone kind of like, we missed a lot of open shots to start the half. It kind of affected our defense, and we just had to figure it out. The rhythm was a little bit off, and we were a little bit too sluggish. So second half, we picked it up and found a way to win.
Once you guys got ahead, late game execution was on point. Huge shots from Derek White. JT dictating this game, and Jrue Holiday coming through like he always does. What level did you guys have to go to?
We just had to play basketball. I mean, we're the better team, and I think we were letting the officiating and all the other stuff, the zones. Let's play basketball. We're the better team, and everything will work itself out. Don't complain. Just keep shooting the ball, and it'll work itself out, and it did. So once we stopped complaining, once I stopped complaining, we was good.
You said it. What gives you so much confidence in this group in those situations?
Just experience. We've been here before. We won big games in this building before. We know what it feels like to win. We know what it takes to win. So, no game is out of reach, and we believe in our guys and our group.
Finally, Jaylen, this is the first 3-game win streak you guys have had in about a month. Do you feel like you're starting to get back to Celtics basketball?
Yes, sir. We need every one of them, too. So we're looking to build on it, get ready for the next game. We got to come out with a better start next game, and we will.
Jaylen, thank you. Congrats.
Thank you. Just mindset. Found a way to get some stops. They missed some shots, and we just got out and kind of just rallied together. But it was just nothing but mindset. That's all it was.
When you make a few shots in a row like that to end a quarter, is it almost a bigger momentum boost? And if it happens, just a different point in the game when you see the lead go from, 25 or 26 to 11 in a quick span like that? Yeah, I mean, it's the NBA. On any given night, teams can, it's enough talent where teams can play really well. But we're the better team, and we just had to stick with it. They were trying to mix it up,
and give credit to Nick Nurse. He had his guys prepared, and they kind of threw some different coverages at us to try to slow us down. But once we just start just playing basketball, forget about, what covers they're in, forget about, the referees, just come out and play, the game will take care of itself.
Were you guys saying anything to each other, or was it just a collective understanding?
Everybody was, just stick with it. Let's stick with it. Even though we were down, we felt like we can get back in, just, stay together, and we was able to rally back.
Do you have any sense, like, you're down 26 with 3 minutes left in the third quarter? It's been a long, kind of grueling stretch. Do you have a sense how close you were, like, the threshold of, all right, let's just call this a night and kind of keep...
We knew if we can get within 10, that, like, we would be fine. So that was the whole thing, like, in the third quarter going into the fourth, once we got into that 10 to 12 kind of range, we were in striking distance. So, I played the rest of the second half. JT played, the whole second half, and we just did what it took to get a win.
Joe said he was watching your guys' body language, and he felt good, like that something might be coming. What did you feel? What did you see in the other guys, and kind of what you guys were at?
It was his mindset. First half was like, it was too many things that was just not important that was affecting us, affecting me, like, like expecting calls or whatever. Even against a team like this, they can't stop me. So, like, what am I looking around for? Just play basketball and let the rest take care of itself. It'll even itself out. And I feel like our team kind of took that mindset in the second half and just stayed with it and, played through it, even through some of the mistakes. And then we ended up being able to put a nice stretch together and come back.
Joe said during the regular season there's a few special games that usually you get. You said this was one of those. Did that feel like for you? Like this is a memorable one, or just coming back from such a significant deficit?
I think so. Just how easy it is to, like, just call it a night and just, throw the subs in and just come up with some type of excuse to get the media or whatever. We rallied back. We put the effort in. We turned it up. We stayed together. And we persevered through a win, even though I know we probably shouldn't have been down that much in the first place. But, I think it's a credit to us that, like, we was able to kind of get it back on track in a hostile environment.
You clamped down on Maxey in the second half. How did you do that, and then what can you take from that into?
Maxey's a great player. He's good at, getting to his spots. And when he gets going, he's tough. He's quick. That's probably one of the harder positions for me to guard, those quickness, because they're like, can't always use your physicality because they're smaller. So as soon as you touch them, they think it's a foul. So, in the second half, I just had to be a little bit smarter, but I try to use my physicality a little bit more. So just do your best to stay close to his body. And that's what I was trying to do in the second half. And that's what I told our guys to do, just stay on his body. Because if you let him run free, if you let him get space on you, that's when he's really tough.
By the Luka Anthony Davis trade, what was your initial reaction to seeing that you just played the Mavericks in the final?
I wasn't shocked. Maybe a little bit. But the NBA is the NBA. Behind closed doors, you don't know what's going on. People fall out. People don't see eye to eye. People have disagreements. So I think some of that could lead into it. But I think for whatever reasons, Dallas and LA, they had their own timelines that they're looking into. The Lakers probably wanted to secure their future, and Dallas probably wanted to win now, and they thought, like, hey, this is what we thought was best. So it's surprising initially, but then once you think about it, it's not that surprising.
De'Aaron Fox on the move as well. Is this kind of player movement good for the league, do you think?
I think so because it's new. It causes fans to chime in more. I think, like, with Luka on the Lakers, there's going to be a lot of eyes on that. Like, what's that going to look like, him and LeBron, AD in Dallas, And I'm sure it's going to be a trickle-down effect as well. It's going to be more trades in the next couple of days, and we'll just see how it goes, It's the league. It's the nature of the business. So it is what it is.
Up next, you guys don't even need to be informed. It is a battle of two teams on a little bit of win streak here. 4-game winning streak for the Cavaliers, including today dismantling that shorthanded trade-affected Dallas squad. Going up against the Celtics on a 3-game win streak. And so, look, those two matchups were to start of the year were super entertaining. You had the Celtics ending the little 15-0 run of the Cavaliers to start the year. Cavaliers bouncing back and getting the next one. Donovan Mitchell doing what Donovan Mitchell does. So this one should be a lot of fun. Another little mid-season status check for these two teams. I think some people were a little concerned when the Cavaliers lost 3 in a row, including 2 to Houston. But it really looks like it was just a little bump in the road against a team that was red hot at that point. Celtics know that full well. Cavs have been super steady, and they're still sitting there in the 1 seed. Celtics weren't able to make up much ground while they endured that little losing streak. But 2 head-to-head matchups here in February, a chance to at least add some intrigue to the final sprint. All, again, with the trade deadline hovering at the end of the week on Thursday. So this should be fun. And if there's one downside to what the Celtics did against the 76ers is that Jason Tatum ends up playing 44 minutes. Jaylen Brown goes almost 42. Heavy workloads for those guys. You gotta hope you can get them some rest over the next 24 hours, get them ready for that game on Tuesday night. But this feels like an opportunity for the Celtics, as up and down as they've been through this little December-January stretch. A chance to maybe truly shift the energy here in February. A chance to add some intrigue to the top of the Eastern Conference. If nothing else, a chance to assert that, hey, even though the Celtics have gone through it, that the East still goes through them. We'll see if Peyton Pritchard, who missed this game, is healthy enough to be back out there. But otherwise, the Celtics look in pretty good health. And they'll need to, if they're going to pack anything from Philadelphia, they should bring the second half energy and focus and intensity and just leave the first half there. And we'll see how it all plays out. We'll be back with you. We'll see what else happens around the league with the trade deadline looming. Could be emergency pod season. Thought about it with the big move last night, but knew this was coming up and we'd have a chance to digest it. And I probably still need like 2 more days to fully wrap my mind around the fact that Luka Doncic is on the move. As always, we'll be here with you for whatever lies ahead this week, but especially on Tuesday night. So go like, go subscribe, go check us out on the YouTube page. We'll catch you next time on the Celtics Talk Podcast.